So the next topic we'll discuss about genesis of NPA, how the NPA problem has arrived and what was the background of that NPA problem. We'll discuss some tracing back in the era of boom, that is boom means economic expansion. So after that we'll discuss the problems behind NPA. Then after that we'll discuss solution of NPA. Then the steps taken by Reserve Bank of India and Government of India separately. So this is the main pathway for this class. So first write the heading non-performing assets. Non-performing assets. So what are the genesis we'll discuss first. Like you remember the period of 2003 to 2008. We discussed this period. This was at the time our GDP growth rate was 8.5% on an average. It means this era is known as boom period or the economic expansion of the period. In this era, India received a lot of foreign inflow. It means foreign capital. So our forex reserves went up in this period. It was started with the high savings rate led to high investment rate. We discussed in the capital formation. You remember how savings converted into investment. Are you able to connect with this point? This 2003 period is the period of our 10th five-year plan. So we had discussed about that in this period, services grew at 10%, industry grew at 8%, and agriculture at 3%. This was the best time period that Indian economy have experienced right after independence. So this is the only period. Why agriculture 3%? Because the target according to National Agriculture Policy in 2000, the target for agriculture growth rate was 4%. So that is why it is a quite sufficient growth rate in agriculture sector. But this 8.5% on an average GDP is driven by this particular sector, that is service sector. Due to the ongoing second generation reform, we discussed about second generation reform. Do you remember? So after that, this was the main scenario behind the economic expansion in our country. But what happened in the year 2008? There was a crisis in the Western economy that gripped USA and Western European countries. The crisis was known as subprime crisis. So genesis of non-performing asset, we can trace back to the year 2003. So the first point you write, aggressive lending during the period of boom. BWM, this is spelling. Aggressive lending during the period of boom. Now put a full stop and just understand. What do you understand by aggressive lending? We can say that when the economic expansion, when the economy went through economic expansion period, all the banks were very, very frequent. It means they are very easy to give loans. It means we were at that time, RBI was following cheap monetary policy, reducing interest rate just to increase the economic expansion in the country. Whenever you reduce the interest rate, it will convert into reduction in the loan rate. And whenever you will experience reduction in the loan rate, it will go through to the lower rate of interest on investment. And then when you find the lower rate of investment, it means lower cost of borrowing, because it is very easy. It is on a cheap basis that a country or the company can access that loan. So at a cheaper interest rate, obviously companies will avail huge loans. And when they availed huge loans, the era of economic expansion started. So in the period of boom, there was an aggressive lending by the public sector banks. Why public sector? Because at that time, non-performing assets of public sector bank was also on a relatively higher basis. When we compare with other private banks at that time were only one big player known as ICICI Bank. So we did not have that time about Axis Bank and HDFC Bank of that bigger size. So only public sector banks were capable of giving the huge loans. So aggressive lending during the period of boom means whenever you will find a working of public sector banks, you will find that other working officials or the target given to the bank employees that if the time comes, give as many loan as possible. So for achieving that target, they were giving huge loans even to the subprime customer. Do you remember a discussion of subprime customers? Subprime, prime and subprime. There are two types of borrowers, we can say customers of bank, prime and subprime. Prime means credit-worthy customers, those who pay their loan, that is interest plus principal on time, and that is of full amount. But subprime customers are the risky customers, or what we can say risky borrowers. So whenever you will give loan to the risky borrowers, there is a threat of that asset can become a non-performing. That is getting my point? So subprime customers. So in 2003 and 2004, a lot of public sector banks were offered loans to the subprime borrowers. So that was also one of the main problem. I'll make you write, don't worry, just listen. I'll make you write each and everything, whatever I'm speaking. So due to low interest rate, it means cheaper cost of borrowing. Getting my point? If you're not getting any point, just raise your hand and do not allow me to proceed, because it will be very difficult to understand the later classes. So if you're not conceptually clear, just let me know. So first of all, lower interest rate will lead to higher borrowing, and whenever you have lower cost of borrowing, it means cheap interest rate, companies will avail more loan, and whenever they will avail more loan, it means banks are offering loans to prime customer because they are trustworthy and credit-worthy customer. But just to achieve the target of lending, they were lending to subprime borrowers also. So we'll write few lines. The era, after full stop, we write the era of economic expansion. The era of economic expansion. The era of economic expansion started with forwarding cheap loans to the borrowers. In bracket you write prime plus subprime borrowers. Prime plus subprime borrowers. Full stop. The main target was given to the bank employees. The main target was given to the bank employees of forwarding as many loans as possible. Forwarding as many loans as possible. Just to maximize the profit, as well as the market share. Public, full stop. The majority of the loans offered by public sector banks, the majority of loans are offered by public sector banks due to its size and its market share. Due to its size as well as its market share. Full stop. The private sector banks were not big enough to provide huge loans because of their own limitations, such as their capital base, market share, reluctancy in giving big loans, etc. Now just understand. Do you remember our discussion of gestation period? In the second 5-year plan, we were discussing that India invested a lot of huge capital in industrial sector in 1956. After that, what happened? We've invested huge amount of capital in 1956 just to follow the Mahalanobis model. But after that, what happened? There was a time period known as gestation period, the period between first investment and the first profit. So it means the huge period of gestation was the problem in the year 1956 that led to the problem of fiscal deficit, current account deficit, as well as ultimately balance of payment deficit in the year 1966 when India had to devalue its currency. Remember this discussion? The same scenario you can replicate here. In 2003, the period of boom. What happened at that time? Excessive lending by public sector banks, but main lending towards sectors like iron and steel, textiles, infrastructure. These are the three major sectors that incurred huge NPAs. If we think about only iron and steel, total NPA, the 25% of the total NPA belongs to this particular sector. And you know the importance of this particular sector because this particular sector produce further capital goods that will be useful in providing other production of other goods. Getting my point? So we write this point. The public sector banks offered loans to the sectors like iron and steel, textile, infrastructure, etc., which has a long gestation period, full stop. During the era of economic expansion, these sectors were capable enough. During the era of economic expansion, these sectors were capable enough to deal with the return of, or to deal with the servicing of debt, but I'll explain what is servicing of debt. Due to servicing of debt, but due to the 2008 subprime crisis, comma 2013 stagflation, and economic slowdown an economic slowdown which has started in the year 2015, later converted into low sentiments of private investors, in bracket you write, because of the event of demonetization, and destocking of goods before GST, Full stop. According to experts, these companies which took huge loans during 2003 to 2008 period, could not able to face the onslaught of these economic crises, these economic crises. Getting my point? Did you understand the first sentence? This first point under discussion of non-performing assets. First one is aggressive lending during the boom period led to the successive frequency of economic crises or slowdown. Started in 2008, led to stagflation in 2013, then economic slowdown of 2015, later carried forward till 2018 with the events of demonetization and destocking before GST that led to decline in the sentiments of the private investors. Getting my point? So it means you can understand from the period of 2008 to 2013, we are struggling with the problem of this non-performing assets. So at the time in 2003 and 2008, these industries taken huge loans, but due to economic crisis, they were unable to repay that. If you remember the discussion of the last class, in 2 years, a bank can write off their asset as a non-performing asset. Because when we see the division of standard, substandard, doubtful and loss asset, you remember the discussion? So under loss asset, it means after 24 months of a standard asset that converted into substandard, doubtful and finally loss, banks can write off their non-performing asset. But here what happened? Banks are still carrying the NPAs of 2003. Okay, after iron and steel, you write this 25% of total NPA. जहाँ आपने लिखा होगा bracket में write some data also. Whenever you are writing the answer of mains, just put few data. That will give extra weightage. Simple data approximation. In economics, if I am giving you exact data, you can write as an approximation. Like India's foreign exchange reserve is approximately 400 billion. See. Now the next second point is high interest rate. Second point is high interest rate. Now, if you remember the discussion of our basic economics, that is demand and supply. Whenever the demand is high, you will supply more. So think from bank's perspective. Whenever there is high demand of loans, they will supply extra money. It means extra loans by taking risk to even borrow or even forward loans to the subprime borrowers. So what happened at the time? By the year 2007-2008, the interest rate on loans has been rising. So the high interest rate, because banks were in demand and companies are approaching to the banking sector that we want more loans. So that is why banks said that we should increase the interest rate and earn the big margin of profit. So by the year 2007-2008, the interest rate has started rising. So these high interest rate led to the decline in the profitability of companies. Whenever you will find the decline in the profitability of companies, it means companies' strength to repay that loan will go down or will shrink, we can say. So these are the high interest rate problems. So you write few lines. Did you understand what I said? फिर से पहले लिखा देता हूँ फिर समझाता हूँ. ठीक. By the year 2007-2008, banks were charging high interest rate because of the constant high demand of loans. Because of the constant high demand of loans in the market. First off, in order to give more and more loans, banks started charging high interest rate. It means the cost of borrowing for the companies. Has been rising since 2007, to the period of 2008. Full stop. This increase in the cost led to decline in the profitability. This increase in the cost led to the decline in the profitability of companies. And ultimately that was one of the factor behind shrinking ability to service their debt. Now understand what is debt servicing. Debt servicing is simple repayment of loans. It means if you want to service your debt, you have to pay interest rate on time as well as principal on time. This is the meaning of servicing of debt. Getting my point? Any doubt in this regarding? Now it is clear. Now third point you write. Now understand this difference. These are public sector banks. They were forwarding loan to fund the full project. It means if you are investing in a big infrastructure project, like for example, recently we have Sagarmala project. Suppose one public sector bank is funding a particular project known as Sagarmala. You know it is a huge project. It requires huge amount of money. But what happened with the private sector banks? They were forwarding loans just to cover their working capital. So what do you understand? Is it difficult or that one? First one is difficult or second one? First one is difficult. Whenever you will go for a difficult loan, there is a market risk, because if you are funding full project, it means you are taking two types of risk. First, risk of a market demand of that particular project in near future, maybe 10 years, 15 years down the line. And second one is the risk of non-performing asset. So if you are funding a full project like infrastructure project, if that project went wrong, the full amount of loan may become non-performing. But what happened with the private sector banks? They were only forwarding loans to the companies that may use in the working capital. So working capital, you understand? Day-to-day expenses. So you write this point. The main factor behind huge NPAs, of public sector banks, is that they are providing loans, to the full project, which requires huge capital investment, but on the other hand, private sector banks were only giving loans for funding working capital. Now there is one concept known as consortium banking. This is the important term to understand in this point. Consortium banking is a popular term. In that term, have you ever heard about this term? Yes, anyone? Okay, that's a perfect answer. So think about Sagarmala project or Bharatmala project. These are big projects. It means one public sector bank is not capable enough in providing loans or provide funds to a particular project single-handedly. So there are 4 or 5 banks on an average comes together and provide funds for a big project like Sagarmala or Bharatmala. These are big projects, all India projects. So this is a term means where few banks come together in forwarding loans for a particular project, means known as consortium banking. So we write same point. To fund the big projects, it is not possible for a single bank to fund a big projects. There is not possible for a single bank to provide full amount of capital. Then few banks, in bracket you write generally 4 or 5, few banks comes together and provide loans to a big project, This term is known as consortium banking. You write between R. Consortium banking. You remember one scheme of Joint Lenders Forum recently implemented by RBI. Related to that, we'll discuss in this class also. Measures taken by RBI. ठीक है, understand? Any doubt in consortium banking?